Hello and welcome back to Bible Wits Bible Corner. Today we're going to be in Joshua chapter 21, but I'm going to do something a little different this time. Instead of starting at the beginning of Joshua 21, I'm going to read just the last few verses. I'm going to read verses 41 through 45, starting with the English Standard Version. The cities of the Levites in the midst of the possession of the people of Israel were in all 48 cities with their pasture lands. These cities each had its own or had its pasture lands around it. So it was with all these cities. Thus the Lord gave to Israel all the land that he had swore to give to their fathers. And they took possession of it, and they settled there. And the Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to their fathers. Not one of all their enemies had withstood them, for the Lord had given all their enemies into their hands. Not one of all the good promises that the Lord had made to the house of Israel had failed. All came to pass. New Century Version. A total of 48 towns with their pastures in the land of Israel were given to the Levites. Each town had pastures around it. So the Lord gave the people all the land that he had promised their ancestors. The people took the land and lived there. The Lord gave them peace on all sides, as he had promised their ancestors. None of their enemies defeated them. The Lord handed all of their enemies over to them. He kept every promise he made to the Israelites. Each one came true. That was verses 41 through 45 in both translations. Okay, so the reason I just jumped to the end of this chapter is the previous 40 verses 1 through 40, were talking about the Levites getting their towns. Instead of getting a specific piece of land, they were to live amongst their brothers' tribes. So they were given, as verse 41 says, 48 cities in total to live in. And verses 1 through 40 would have just been a 2 or 3 day repeat of me saying the same thing. So anyway, I want to focus on the last part of this chapter. So the Israelites had peace on all sides. No one, after they took possession of the land, no one bothered them. They had no enemies left in that land because they were all handed over to the Israelites. But the key thing I want to focus on, every single promise that God made to way back to even Abraham, every single promise came true. God is a God that does not forget his promises. He is a God that we don't always understand his timing, but he knows exactly when things are supposed to be done and exactly how things are supposed to be done. So we saw at least one time early on when the Israelites were first taking over the land, one of the Israelites decided, you know what? It won't hurt anyone if I just keep this one thing. Well, it did, because God said, don't keep anything for yourself. He tried to do it his own way. It didn't work. We as people today, I think, get a little bit caught up in, you know what, I really don't need God for this one today. I think I've got this on my own. And 99.99, no, I'll even go 100% of the time. 100% of the time when we go on our own and think that we don't need God, we fall flat on our face. Maybe not physically, literally, but spiritually, we fall flat on our face. um, because we think that we can do things without God. Proverbs warns about doing things without God. There's even some Psalms about it. The entire New Testament is warning us not to do things without God. Israel learned to trust God early on. We need to learn to trust God instead of trying to take matters into our own hands, or, God, you know what, your timing is too slow. I think I'm going to try to speed things up. No, we can't do that either. We've got to learn to trust in God's timing and trust that God knows exactly what He's doing. That doesn't mean we're supposed to sit back and be lazy about it. No, we do have things that we're supposed to do. We can't just ignore life, so to speak. We've got to be able to still provide for our families. We've got to still be able to go to church, worship God, open our Bibles daily. We can't just sit back and do nothing. But in the things that we do, we cannot tell God that His timing is too slow, or we cannot say, God, you know what? I don't need you today. I hope you find encouragement in this, and I hope you have a wonderful, God-centered day. Bye.